Hello, everybody. It's 11 o'clock, so I guess we'll get started. We were expecting a few more people, but that's good. I'm glad you guys all chose to come here and learn more about registered apprenticeship. My name is Joan Dolan, and I'm the Director of Apprenticeship and Strategic Partnerships for the Maine Department of Labor, a position I've held for the last 13 years. And during that time, we've apprenticeship has exploded in healthcare and in all other sectors across the state, because healthcare providers often think they're the only ones who are having shortages, and that's what construction providers think, and that's what the world thinks. They all think, oh God, our shortages are so severe. And they're really severe in every single sector across the state of Maine, and we're working really hard to try to figure that out and to bridge the gap between the people that we have available to work, and for them to understand what they need to do to be able to be in the workforce. So I've got a couple of panelists here with me. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Desiree, you want to pick up the microphone and give her a whirl?
I might just do it without it, if that's okay. Or
I think the man over there needs you to have the microphone.
sorry. Okay. I don't think it's on.
I don't think it's working. Test.
Hello. All right. My name's Desiree Murray. I am the Director of Workforce Development for DHHS here in Maine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melinda Hull, and I am on the workforce development team at Maine Health. And currently, I collaborate on apprenticeship programs with a number of you, pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs with a number of you in this room. And I work very closely with Ms. Dolan here and the Department of Labor on expanding and enhancing a variety of our apprenticeship programs at Maine Health. So happy to be here today to talk to you about all the great work that's going on.
Okay, and I also would like to introduce you to Becky Dansereau.
Hi, I'm Becky Dansereau. I'm also a member of the Maine Apprenticeship team. I work with Joan, and I'm kind of a contact person for the main contact person for healthcare employers that are interested in starting an apprenticeship program, and also I work with our current healthcare employers that currently have apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship programs.
Oh, thank you, Becky. And Becky's got a notebook that's passing around the room, and if you wouldn't mind just signing in and letting us know who you are, it would be good. We can follow up with any questions that you might have, or we might, send you a presentation or send you some little more information about healthcare apprenticeship programs. So, who thinks they know what apprenticeship is? Anybody? When you think of apprenticeship, what occupations do you think of? Electricians, plumbers, construction. Okay, so in Maine, only 44% of our apprentices are in those fields. In Maine, most of our apprentices are not in those traditional trades occupations. And like I said, our second largest sector in Maine is in the healthcare sector. So, let's see. Oop, this doesn't seem to be. Okay. Whoop, now it's gone crazy on me. Okay, so what is registered apprenticeship? I think the first thing that everybody sort of suffers from a little bit of a misunderstanding is that an apprentice must be just somebody that's coming to learn something, and I'm not paying them. An apprentice is an employee, and I think first and foremost that's super important. So they're an apprentice. An apprentice is a person who is an employee of your organization and who is learning a skill, either a new skill or advancing from an old skill into a higher level skill. So industry and business led you have to have an employer to have an apprentice, because an apprentice has to be an employee. Okay, so you have to have an employer. So both of these folks who are here with me today are employers, one for the Department of Health and Human Services and one for Maine Health. It's structured on-the-job learning and mentorship. Okay, so there has to be a mentor, somebody who is going to show the person who's learning, show the apprentice how to do things. Okay, and it's healthcare is a great place to have mentors. You already do that, right? Most healthcare organizations you're very familiar with preceptors, you're very familiar with having nursing students in your facilities, training them through a mentor. And a mentor is somebody who's showing somebody how to do a skill, or somebody that they can go to if they're having trouble doing something that they're supposed to know but haven't quite learned or haven't quite mastered yet. And then the structured on-the-job learning supports whatever the individual is learning on the job. It's the classroom training or the didactic training is what the structured learning part needs to be. Supplemental education is that classroom training. The structured on-the-job learning, we have a curriculum, just like you'd have a curriculum for what they're going to be learning in the classroom. The on-the-job learning is structured into a curriculum, and I have a quick example that we'll pull up on the slide here in a minute to show you that. Registered apprenticeship helps to expand the diversity of your workforce. All apprenticeship programs have quality and safety in mind. Every apprenticeship program has to have a safety component. And then apprentices earn nationally recognized credentials. And in most apprenticeship programs, they also earn industry recognized credentials. So if I'm going to be a nurse, I've got to have that nursing license, right? I've got that credential. If I'm going to be a medical assistant and I'm going to earn it through apprenticeship programming, I'm going to have that certification at the end. There's a bunch of different medical assistant certifications that you can earn, but every apprentice has those things built within their programming. So when I say you have to have a structured on-the-job learning outline, this is an example of just a very tiny little piece of what one would look like potentially. I think this is for a medical assistant. It's an on-the-job earning. Interviews patients during the intake process to obtain and review pertinent medical information. Okay, that's something that a medical assistant does, right? And so in an apprenticeship program, you have every skill that the occupation would need to do that's outlined in a way. And so what it really does, too, is it helps to make sure that that person who you're bringing into your organization is getting exposed and getting checked off on all of these skills, all of these competencies. And in the medical sector, we've really found that competency-based apprenticeship programs are working well because we're kind of talking your talk already, right? Competency, you need to be competent before you can, interact solo with a patient. So that works. Accurately and appropriately measure vital signs, weight and height. So somebody would observe the apprentice doing that and then sign off on it and say, yep, they got that. It's all good to go. Skills to be learned by related instructions. So that too is structured, and the mentor signs off on these things. We have something called Work Hands, which we provide at no cost, that we upload your schedules of work. That's what the combination of these two documents that I just shared you, the classroom training and the structured on-the-job learning. We upload those to Work Hands, and you can do it all electronically through the app. The apprentice can say, yep, I did this, and then the mentor goes in either on the computer or on an app on a phone and signs off and says they did that. So that's an option available. Not everybody uses that. Some people prefer paper, and that's fine too. Why would you do a registered apprenticeship? Why, oh, why would you do that? I'm gonna let Desiree talk about that.
So the first bullet here, candidate pipeline and recruiting, that was the major reason that we at DHHS created an RN apprenticeship within one of our state psychiatric hospitals. We were having a real hard time getting nurses. And so building a program that hopefully will bring a nurse in during their final year of school before they have their license, and keeping them through maintaining that license and afterwards is sort of our goal. And so far it's working right now. We'll see if it continues.
Yep. And Desiree is going to talk more specifically about the unique program that they've developed at DHHS. And they have currently so it's within the psychiatric hospital, and they have 2 psychiatric hospitals that are state-owned and operated. And they have how many apprentices, Desiree?
We have one.
They have one apprentice. And so I don't want you to think that you have to have like a ton of apprentices to be an apprenticeship sponsor either. I think it's, it's good to start out small and figure out, does this work for us or does this not work for us? And then to build off your success and to figure out, what you need to do to improve things before you go really huge. Helps to attract a more diverse workforce. Reduces turnover costs. I don't know, I've heard estimates of like $10,000 to onboard a new person within facilities. And if you can hang on to that person and continue to build them and build their confidence and improve their value to your organization because they're a skilled employee, that's probably worth investing in. Connection to training funds. There's as you heard this morning, there is a plethora of training funds out there, and Becky knows about all of those. So if you work with Becky, she can say, well, geez, have you thought about this particular program? We could connect that to your apprenticeship program, and it could help reduce your costs of having this apprentice within your workforce. Customized to meet employer needs, so that it's not like I have a medical assistant program that is at Maine Health and that's the only thing, you have to have the same program as Maine Health. That's not true. Okay, we work with employers to customize the training to meet your needs. And, different facilities provide, have a little bit of tweaks about what they're doing. And we help to capture that on a piece of paper so that it's communicated straight across your organization. Everybody knows what to expect. And then I'm going to bump it over to Melinda, who's going to talk about the next bullets.
Sure. So I am a very enthusiastic supporter of apprenticeship, and I am I guess you would say the de facto Maine Health expert in apprenticeship for the system. And we're a system that is unified, but still in the process of unification. So we were doing training programs already in many sectors, and we were even doing a registered apprenticeship in medical assisting. And with the generous support from the Maine Department of Labor and the American Rescue Plan, we received a grant to expand and enhance our offerings of pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships, and we have done that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the benefits that we're starting to reap. So it's taken about a year, honestly, to get kind of widespread sort of groundswell of enthusiasm at Maine Health for registered apprenticeship. But boy, now we have it. And so one of the things that's really exciting about it for us is that it's provided kind of a way to take a look at what we're already doing in terms of training our healthcare workforce, some of the existing programs that we have, as well as just sort of the traditional on-the-job training where you would come in and we would train you to do something and then send you on your way and hope that you stayed with us. We're actually formalizing a lot of our trainings under the auspices and with the guidance of what a registered apprenticeship looks like. So we're actually having this as a vehicle for increasing the quality of the training programs that we have, and by adopting them as a registered apprenticeship model, we're able to get people really interested in revising practices, thinking about the best experiences that trainees can possibly have. And of course, Department of Labor has tons of resources and recommendations for how to do that. So it's really sort of helping us take a look at what we're doing in training all of the people who come in to work for us, but particularly the ones in our apprenticeships and other types of training programs, to a quality standard and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our learners, of our employees, of the patients that we serve, et cetera. So it's kind of providing, people who didn't want us to really, anyone to look under the hood of what they were doing. Now sort of the door is open. Yes, please come and help me make my training better under the, the auspices of registered apprenticeship. So that's been pretty fun. Also, this is just an anecdote, so kind of a theme of kind of branding and job visibility. So Maine Health wants to be known as an employer that if you come and join us, we will help you learn and grow. We are a learning and growing organization. And so by increasing the level of quality of our training programs and the number of registered apprenticeships, we're really kind of getting that message out there into the marketplace that we are investing in people who want to come and work in healthcare, partners who want to partner with us in training our workforce. So it's been kind of helpful in the terms of getting the word out that we will really help you learn and grow as an employee, and you can come in with no experience and you can spend your career here at Maine Health. With respect to sort of job visibility, so many of you are familiar with the psych tech role. It's a hard to fill role, usually doesn't pay very well in comparison to some other roles. It's a difficult role to do. Lots of turnover in it. We advertised for our new psych tech apprenticeship, and within the first 3 weeks, we got 100 people raising their hands saying, I'm interested in learning more about being a psych tech, which for any of you who've had psych tech jobs posted for years and years and years, you would never get 100 applicants over years and years and years, and certainly not qualified applicants. So it was a way to sort of heighten the visibility of a job that's available by saying, we have a vehicle to have you actually get into this job. So that was really exciting.
Yep. So if you say the word apprentice, even if you don't know the technical definition that I just provided for you, right, had 7 bullets there, what does that word apprentice say? So if you advertise a job for a XYZ apprentice, it says, we're willing to train you. We're willing to work with you. And I think that's, a new employee, no matter whether they have the training or not, wants to know that that employer is going to help invest in them.
Yeah, absolutely. It just lowers that sort of barrier. I couldn't possibly work in healthcare. I don't know anything about healthcare. But being able to connect with, particularly my department, which we have career navigators, and talk through what the opportunities are, including the registered apprenticeships, including direct entry into a role if apprenticeship isn't necessarily right for you. But if you want to work in healthcare, our sort of apprenticeship office is a good place to start. And we can direct you to the right pre-apprentice opportunity, the right apprenticeship opportunity, the right what have you. Sometimes that's directing to our partners outside if someone's really looking for a particular level of education or training that we're not necessarily offering. So it's very, very exciting in that way. To your point, it just gets the conversation going for people who are like, oh, I don't have to know it all already. Someone's going to train me to do it. That sounds pretty great. We also have access to technical assistance from the Department of Labor, even when you're trying to devise your schedule of work, which Joan showed the schedule of work and also the related technical, the competencies and the related technical instruction, which go into making your schedule of work for your training program. Some of our departments have these old training checklists. Some of the language is outdated. Using the Department of Labor tools, actually, and ONET in particular, we were able to map some training programs that we had and some manager checklists that we had against sort of the right language, I would say, and sort of standardized industry language. And also we noticed, we're missing a few things that we should now be adding to our checklist because the Department of Labor resources source from national sources on what's happening nationally, best practices in these apprenticeships and training programs. So that was a really useful tool.
Just to be clear, we didn't say Maine Health, you have to add these 3 things that you don't have. We didn't say that. We said, here's what the ONET, which is a database that's kept by the federal government and has basically every single occupation in the United States in it and all the tasks and things that are related to that occupation. And so Maine Health had a little bit of an aha. We do that, but we don't have that written down as part of our competencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing I'll just mention, and it's kind of what we're doing here today. All of us who partner on registered apprenticeship with the Department of Labor are connected through a community of practice. And that's been really helpful to think about new partnerships in pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship, getting together and just sort of talking about what are some challenges that we're having and kind of crowdsourcing solutions. That's been a wonderful benefit and to being an employer deeply involved in apprenticeship and wanting to sort of take advantage of all the benefits, really, that are available to us by being part of the greater network of people who are pursuing apprenticeships as well.
All right, thank you, Melinda. And just that little statistic there, over 70% of apprenticeship program completers are still with that employer after 1 year. So that means that the person completed their apprenticeship, which was at least 1 year in length, and then they stayed for at least another year. And this is data generated from our Center for Workforce Research and Information. They're actually crunching the numbers specific to apprenticeship. I don't have any numbers specific to healthcare, but that's for the greater, for the entire apprenticeship system. Yes. We're going to keep moving, but if you have one quick one, we can take that. Apprenticeship can be for anybody. So we have many apprenticeship programs that are for entry level, but we have even more apprenticeship programs that are moving people from an entry level job maybe into a mid-level job within different sectors. Certification and licensures go along with the apprenticeship programs. I don't know if I answered your question. It's sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on what the apprenticeship is. So for like the psych techs, they're not in any program until Maine Health hires them as a psych tech and they have a curriculum that they're using to train them. We have some nursing apprenticeship programs at Maine General. The people actually have completed college and they're coming into a nurse residency apprenticeship program in different specialty areas. And then we'll let Desiree talk about her apprenticeship program, which is really unique, but we'll do it in a little bit. So there's...
Are there jobs available for, let's say, a site tech that you hired for, or not? I mean, and they sign up for these apprenticeships.
An apprenticeship is a job, and so Maine Health is posting the psych tech job.
Growing into a position, correct?
That's correct.
There are jobs waiting for them at the end.
Okay, that's
So there must be. And so for a department to say, oh, we want 7 or 15 or 40 psych techs, then they have to show me, that there are 40 budgeted slots at the end of the year program, right? So we're not just training people and saying you don't have a job at the end. We are promising them, as long as they pass all their competencies and there's no other issues, which in healthcare, there can be some other issues that come up. But as long as they stay in good standing and complete their registered apprenticeship, they will have a job in that field at the end.
And so just, so we talked about all the intrinsic benefits of having a registered apprenticeship, which to me are more important than these financial incentives, but sometimes for smaller employers in particular, the financial incentive can help a little bit, what I call grease the skids. So we do offer on an ongoing basis a $1,500 reimbursement. So once Maine Health became a sponsor of apprenticeship, cut them a check for $1,500 once they became a sponsor and hired their first apprentice. And then if, as an existing sponsor, registers a new occupation, because we recognize that there's a little bit of work going there. Like, Becky and Desiree and Becky and Melinda spend a lot of time going back and forth, refining what their apprenticeship program is going to look like. So we provide $1,000 to existing sponsors when they register a new occupation. And then depending on the length of the apprenticeship, we provide $500 to $2,500 per apprentice to offset the classroom training costs. And that is provided for the longer length programs, the 3 or 4 year programs. They get $1,250 at 6 months. Once the apprentice has been hired and in training for 6 months, we reimburse the employer the $1,250, and at the end of the apprenticeship, another $1,250 comes. And employers, we say that's to offset the cost of your training. For the shorter term apprenticeship programs, which we see a lot in healthcare, it's a one-time $500 reimbursement to offset the cost of training. But if you're going to train, if you're going to have CNA apprentices, that can, and if you have a number of them, it could help you offset the cost of providing that training. And I think more importantly, we can connect you to lots of other funding resources. Maine Workforce Development Compact is through the Maine Community College System. Maine Quality Centers, same thing, they can provide. That's also through the community college system. And then important to note is that if you have a registered apprenticeship program and you hire a military veteran, they can use their GI benefits and it's really a benefit to the veteran. They get a housing stipend, and they also get money to pay for their training during the time that they're in apprenticeship programming. So the military GI benefits can be used to offset that, and anybody who is in a registered apprenticeship program is available, can make themselves available to that, and we connect you with our friends over in the military side of things to get that set up. And then we also work closely with our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is what WIOA stands for. I didn't have enough room on the slide to write that all out. But our service providers, and they can help bridge those barriers of transportation, childcare, all kinds of other things while people are in training. And so it depends on the individual's eligibility for enrollment in those programs. So if you say you're going to train 10 MA apprentices, I can't say that all 10 of those would be eligible for workforce development funds, but likelihood is that they probably would be. If they're coming to you as unemployed people, particularly if they have children at home, they tend to be eligible. So we can connect you to those service providers to determine the eligibility. And so when employers bring in a new cohort of trainees, what we like to do is connect the service providers to those trainees right at the start of the program to determine their eligibility. They can also provide things like 50% wages for up to 3 months to offset the cost of onboarding a new employee. And we've already got part of the work done because you've got that schedule of work. So there are lots of funds out there. There's what I call sometimes knotted cables to get to them, but we can help unknot those cables. We know the people to talk to and how to connect you to those resources. So connecting with us goes beyond just the apprenticeship program. You have to be at least 16 years old to be an apprentice or a pre-apprentice. And we're going to talk about pre-apprenticeship in a minute. But the employer can say, hey, anybody that works here for me has to be 21. So like a commercial driving license to go interstate, the person has to be at least 21. So we do have some truck driving companies that work with us, and they say, well, a person's got to be 21. Okay, that's okay. Typically can have a high school diploma or the equivalent, but that's, again, employer-driven. Some employers don't care about that. I think probably in healthcare, mostly you care about that, but maybe not. And then there might be physical requirements. You have to lift at least 50 pounds, or you might need a driver's license, or might be drug testing that they have to be available to, or there could be other requirements that an employer would put on there. So like Desiree would say, person needs to be in nursing school, right? So you were going to talk about that one a little bit, I think.
Program, we need a nursing student who is in their final year of school, so we can have them working within our hospital within their scope, which is generally around a CNA level because they've handled that by the time they get to us. And then they will graduate from their program, pass their NCLEX, and we will continue them in their apprenticeship, moving them through some RN tasks and supporting their education that way. So for us, they have to be in nursing school.
So, but it can vary. So it could be you have to be in nursing school, you have to have graduated from nursing school, you have to have a high school diploma, you have to have, it just, again, it's all, remember, this is an employer-driven program. So the Department of Labor is not coming in and saying, this is what you got to do. We're coming in and helping you to determine what it is you want to do, and then putting that program in place. Certified pre-apprenticeship is a relatively new thing. We're one of the only states in the country that have in legislation certified pre-apprenticeship. And what certified pre-apprenticeship does is it prepares individuals for entry into registered apprenticeship. So you heard the last panel spoke about the 14 new Mainers that were in Lewiston at the adult ed program. Those were technically pre-apprentices because they were, getting English acquisition skills underneath their belt. They were taking the classes to become CNAs, and they were getting work-ready type skills as well. So, they were pre-apprentices, and then the facility that was working with Lewiston Adult Ed hired them into CNA positions, and that's where the on-the-job learning for their apprenticeship program would take place. And they were hired into competency-based programs, so after an employee has been an employee for a minimum of 6 months, then if they've met all the competencies, then you can request a certification of completion. So for some of the entry-level healthcare programs, the basic rule for apprenticeship is it has to be at least 2,000 years in length, 2,000 hours in length, which is basically a year. But if you have a fully competency-based program, persons can graduate from that program within 6 months if they've met all the competencies and completed all the classroom training. So the program that you talked about in Lewiston was for adults. Okay, for many programs are for high school aged students. We see that a lot in construction. I would like to see that a lot in healthcare, if we could. If you've got these students that are in these career and technical education programs that are training them to be CNAs. Why not connect in with that program ahead of time and say, hey, we have this CNA apprenticeship program, because I think we all know that kids that are just graduating from high school might need that extra support, right? They might need that formalized mentor program that could take them further. And it has to have, a pre-apprenticeship program has to be connected to an apprenticeship opportunity on the other side. So I couldn't have a pre-apprenticeship program for CNAs and then not have a CNA apprenticeship program for them to go into. So it's like you can't really have a junior high if you don't have a high school. Well, you can't really have a pre-apprenticeship if there's not an apprenticeship. And it doesn't mean that every single person has to become an apprentice. It just means there has to be an opportunity for them to apply. And we're also looking for some sort of advanced placement opportunity. At least we guarantee you an interview if you complete this pre-apprenticeship program. We're not saying you have to hire the person, but we're saying we'll give you this chance.
I was going to just jump in with a couple of examples of pre-apprenticeship to kind of bring it home, tie it together for people. So we have, Maine Health, we have a couple of different styles of pre-apprenticeship. One we grew in-house with a fantastic idea and varying successes in terms of implementation. And then we've also recently partnered with Portland Adult Ed on another. So the first one that we grew in-house, we really wanted to find a way where people didn't have to show up in time and place. Also, given some of the challenges that we had with COVID and bringing people on site, we wanted to kind of eliminate those challenges and make our pre-apprenticeship available and accessible to as wide a swath of the population as possible. And so we designed a curriculum around really a clinical healthcare career exploration pre-apprenticeship. So it was a way to introduce people to the different environments in clinical healthcare, the different programs and apprenticeships that we offered, and give them basically a vehicle for them to talk to us about the different opportunities that we had in Maine Health for apprenticeship and some other things too over the course. So really to solidify or help introduce and maybe further solidify their decision to enter a clinical healthcare field and get them tracked into the right clinical healthcare training program. And so that's a completely online, self-paced, about 40 hours of exploratory work. There are quizzes, there are reflections. You get an academic badge at the end. So we partnered with Southern Maine Community College to be able to award an academic badge so that if someone does go on to a community college or other higher ed institution, they can submit that badge for prior learning assessment evaluation and potentially get awarded a half a credit or a credit for it, depending. So that's one of our iterations, or that's one iteration of this exploration pre-apprenticeship that we have. We have recently expanded that to JMG, and so accessing a very specific target population for us, which is high school students who are involved with JMG. That course has gone up on their platform and will launch very soon. And that just allowed us to get connected to the JMG counselors that are in those high schools who can help those students with the curriculum and help get them through the course, kind of guide them through the course. So that's a really exciting opportunity. We certainly have plenty of pre-apprentices who are self-motivated and go online and answer the questions and do the quizzes and get connected with our career navigators, have a counseling session, apply to a registered apprenticeship, start in a registered apprenticeship, but then the high school students really we had a harder time reaching. And so JMG really has stepped up to partner with us to get that going. We also have a medical assistant pre-apprenticeship, and that is something that our friends at Portland Adult Ed have a really wonderful career readiness as well as kind of intro to medical terminology, intro to clinical healthcare curriculum, and that's going to help us reach a population also that we didn't feel we could reach through our in-house pre-apprentice program, and that will just feed our registered apprenticeship that we just partnered with Ray New Gloucester on. So we're very
Okay.
excited about those two apprenticeships that we're involved with.
Okay, and then benefits. Why registered apprenticeship from an apprentice's standpoint? And I think, did I have you going on this, Desiree? No. No, the increased skills, the paycheck while in training, the mentor support. That wasn't you. I can do it. Okay, I can do it too, but whatever.
So yes, I mentioned that we advertise the psych tech role, and people are like, wow, I can actually get trained to do something in healthcare, and I might have a passion for behavioral health, so this is really exciting. I can get some introductory skills. I can learn at a pace that feels good, it's supported. I can have these skills and start to use these skills kind of along the way of a registered apprenticeship. So that's, I don't have to come in with them already. So that's an amazing thing, and you'll train me, and I'll be able to become more competent and work at a higher level by the time I'm at the end of this apprenticeship. So really a skill building opportunity. Then you're collecting a check, which is great. So we have earn while you learn, and we have some, which I would say is we will subsidize your classroom time with earnings, as well as your on-the-job training, obviously, with earnings. So we do have some models like that. Other models we have where we cover your tuition, but we don't pay for your classroom time. But of course, we still pay for your on-the-job training when you're working with us. So that's another thing. And I forget what the third one on that.
So
was.
we're running out of time here. So we're gonna zoom ahead and want to leave time for questions. So we do have different types of apprenticeships, either time-based, competency-based, or a combination of the two. And then I think what I want to do is I want to kick it over to Desiree to talk about your program.
So we created a psychiatric RN apprenticeship program at Riverview Psychiatric Center, which is the state-owned psychiatric hospital that replaced AmHigh. We did that because we really struggle to recruit nurses like everybody does, but psych nurses are even more hard. And your new graduates, I'm sure people know, when they leave nursing school are told you need to go into med-surg, keep your skills up, and then you should specialize from there. And we never get the psych nurses back when they do that. So as we were creating this program, our thought was if we can get these nurses before they leave their program, bring them to the hospital, take away any stigma that they have about our patients and about the job and about the facility, because AmHigh has a reputation that can be tough to get past if you're not familiar with the hospital and working there. So bringing them in their last year of nursing school and letting them meet the patients and the care teams and all of that makes them very comfortable. And if they really are interested in psych, the idea is they will complete their apprenticeship apply for a position and stay with us for a very long time, hopefully. And so being part of state government, creating apprenticeships and jobs and just moving people around has its own unique challenges. So we had to create special positions within state government that allowed an apprentice and had a whole pay scale and all of that stuff to work around union and civil service rules so that we didn't have apprentices taking union line positions and things like that. So we created a special apprenticeship line that anybody within state government can use. That helped us navigate some of those issues. And then I had to get organizational buy-in. It was really tough to get the hospital excited about doing this because they are all very tired and overworked and not enough staff. And so once they realized we could pilot it with one person, and for us, most of the work around their training and their competencies and all of that was already in place. We just had to put it in the right forms and present it to DOL so they realized it wasn't a whole lot of extra work they needed to do because they were already doing the work. And then we had to recruit our apprentice, and we didn't have as much luck as you did. We did not have 100 people that wanted this role, but we did have 2 young ladies that were interested in the position, and one of them interviewed very well, and we did hire one of them on, and that's all we needed was one, so it was okay. And we're still in our apprenticeship cycle right now. It hasn't completed, but things are going well, and it's working successfully, and it appears that it's going to have the outcome that we wanted because our apprentice has indicated she wants to apply for a full-time position after she sits for her NCLEX, which is just what we wanted. So we have to see if it's going to play out that way, but right now it looks good. And then for next steps around apprenticeships, if this does work, as it appears it will, we will continue and have a new RN apprentice. Likely our program will always stay small. We will probably only have 1 or 2 RNs because that's really all we can handle from a mentorship standpoint. It's a fairly small facility, a small number of beds. We just don't have the resources to have 100 apprentices. But we do have other positions that we could expand to, like we call them mental health workers. I'm sure they're similar to your psych tech position that I think we could probably implement. So that's our program.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So we we have a number of registered apprenticeships at Maine Health. And like I said, it took about a year. We had a medical assistant one, and then it took sort of about a year to get folks interested in designing some additional ones. So you can see them there. I will say that we have a couple more in development in Maine. So we have a farm tech, which I don't know if it's on the next slide, but there it is, farm tech in Maine. We also, Joan, this is hot off the presses, but a behavioral health residential care worker apprenticeship. I'm talking to the folks for the second time in Maine Health about that, so that looks like it's going to go forward. And because we also serve New Hampshire, we have a hospital in New Hampshire, we have a number of programs, apprenticeship programs in development or exploration in New Hampshire, medical assistant, licensed practical nurse, and surgical technologist. So that's exciting too, to be able to take the expertise and the support from Maine Department of Health and be able to sort of partner with our New Hampshire Department of Labor
I think
partners
she meant
as well.
to say Department of Labor.
Sorry, Department of Labor. Yes, Department of Labor. Thank you for correcting me. And so that's been exciting too, because we are a system that spans 2 states, and so that cross-pollination's very exciting.
Right, and we're super excited too because we hope that other healthcare providers will say, how can I do this? And I think, while DHHS is not a small employer, the fact that they have only 1 apprentice, hopefully that speaks to some of you who are most likely from smaller employers. And that was really all I had for today, and we're kind of bumping up against time, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions that folks might have. Can I just say something? Sure. Come over here and say it.
Northern Light Health is another one of our healthcare sponsors. I just spoke with them recently, and they were very excited. They have a medical assistant apprenticeship program. They also have a pre-MA apprenticeship too. But the person that oversees their apprenticeship program was very excited because their completed apprentices are now acting as mentors and taking on new apprentices. And so their training program is expanding for their MA program, which is really exciting. And it's less work, and those mentors that went through the apprenticeship program, they know how to help those apprentices. They know how to, what they need and how to get them through the classes as well as the hands-on training. So it's very exciting.
All right. Thank you, Becky. Any questions from any of you? And Becky has a table set up in the big conference room, so you might visit her during the break if you have a specific question about your organization. And we'll also hang out here for a little bit if anybody wants to ask individual questions. But no questions from the floor? All right. I know I'm the only thing between you and lunch, so enjoy your lunch, and thank you for participating today. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Get this. I'm Nicole Breton. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm the director for the Office of Rural Health and Primary Care Program at the Maine CDC, and excited to be here. It's been a great day so far, and looking forward to this afternoon, and I get to see my colleague Jennifer that we hadn't seen each other for a long time. And Erica Dyer is also from our office, and so you may work with her sometimes. She does a little bit of everything. I'm a loud talker, so I don't know if I... so this is where some of our missions and priorities, and we're a small but mighty office, and so we administer a handful of grants through the Federal Office of Rural Health Policy, mostly regarding workforce. We have a state loan repayment program, and then we also are the office that helps with the designations for the health professional shortage areas, also known as HIPSs, and then medically underserved areas. So we're that office that we work with. We also administer several other federal programs working with our rural and critical access hospitals, so we work closely with them throughout the state. And then we have another grant that we provide technical assistance, educational programming, networking also. And then we do a handful of statewide programs also. So this is how we help. We can find financial incentives to your providers, either through loan repayment or National Health Service Corps, or also tax credit programs, or an offset of their malpractice insurance for OB/GYNs, providing maternity care in rural and underserved areas. Our office works, we are the state office that does the J1 Conrad 30 program, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but we're the ones that receive all the 30 applications and review them and pass them on to Homeland Security for their final review. Educational program, we do a lot of programming throughout the year to really focus on workforce recruitment and retention, and we partner with our New England Rural Health Association, also with 3RNet, and provide this educational workshops and trainings. We've gone to do them mostly webinar-based, but in the past they have come to the state of Maine and have done workshops here, which have been highly attended in the past. And again, we provide technical assistance. We get a lot of calls, providers looking, we have someone that you want to onboard, they're looking for loan repayment programs, they heard about a HIPSA, they're not sure where their HIPSA score is, and so we are there to help provide them with that. So I'll go over our first program is the state loan repayment program. This is a competitive grant that our office received 2 years ago. We have been the recipients of it for the last 7 years. And this is focused on In the past, we've done primary care providers, but this round that we wrote in 2 years ago with a crisis with mental health providers. So we focus on loan repayment for mental health and behavioral health providers. They have to be working in a medically underserved area or a HIPSA. They have to have active loans, student loans. They can be working either full-time or part-time. So there is a full-time requirement, or they could do part-time. And I think this round we've had a lot of part-time. People go to part-time. And in the past, the provider would have to pay, do a match that was required. But for this round of funding, HRSA did not require a match. So that was good for the facility. We opened the applications up in the fall, and we actively see, so it's a first come, first serve. Our office reviews the applications. Once they are approved, we start a contract with the state of Maine, and the provider can get up to $50,000 in loan repayment. And so they have to have a commitment of working in their facility. They do have to send us reports quarterly, and they have to stay working at that facility. So if they don't like it and they decide to go somewhere else, there's significant fines and penalties that the federal office puts on them. So we really try to stay vested in working in that area. This is a primary care tax credit program. This is a state-funded program, and this is working with primary care providers that are working in a medically underserved or health professional shortage area. This opens in January every year, and then we can take on 10 new applicants per year, and they send their applications to our offices. We review them. Once we approve them, they go over to the Bureau of Taxation. They do their review and analysis and grant that program. So basically, they can be in the program and renew up to 5 years. So that's a good program for retention of the providers. Historically, our federally qualified health centers and rural health clinics have been the biggest utilizer of this. This is ongoing right now. We're accepting applications. This is the Rural Medical Access Program, and this is for providers providing OBGYN maternal care in rural and medically underserved areas. They can send their application to us. We will review them. They have to be accepting Maine care patients. In the past, it was just for deliveries. But I changed it about 5 years ago where they could be doing maternal care also. Once we review the applications, it's sent on to the Bureau of Insurance. They do their final analysis, approvals, and then that can go, will go to the provider, and they'll get a rebate on their malpractice insurance, which is pretty significant. And as you can see, last year we only had 32 physicians enroll in this program. And it wasn't for a lack of trying. As we all know, a lot of our rural maternal programs have stopped, so that's been one of our biggest challenges. So we're looking at ways to expand it. This is our foreign medical graduate program, also known as the J1 Conrad 30 program. So each year, October 1st, this opens up. Every state in the U.S. gets 30 slots for foreign medical students that are here doing their residencies. Instead of having to go back to their home country for 2 years, they can apply for a J1 Conrad slot in a rural or medically underserved area. And then if they're approved, they can stay here and not have to go back to their home country. This is not as competitive as the H-1B program. If anyone knows about that program, it can be very competitive. It's almost a lottery. Basically, with the foreign medical students in Maine, 10 of the facility sites can be non-rural, so they can practice in Portland, in the non-medically health professional shortage area, or HIPSA. So we do have 10 slots for that. And then more on that is our website right there. It is a pretty lengthy process. We work with immigration attorneys that actually file the applications on behalf of the facility. So it is a process. They're here for at least 3 to 5 years. Maine historically has a better retention rate of our J1 Conrad 30s program. So once they're done their commitment, they may relocate to another area of the state of Maine, but at least they're staying in Maine. And this is just the past couple years. Our program mostly focuses on specialty care for physicians. So the facilities determine what they need for providers. So one year it was anesthesiology was a big one. Hospitalist is always a challenge. Endocrinology is another one that's when we had one year that we had trauma surgeons was another one that we were able to get, and that all 5 of them are still here practicing in the state of Maine, which is great. So far this year, these are the number of providers that have come in. Pulmonology is another one that is still high and active. Yeah, it's a big one. It's probably because of COVID, I think. This is just a map. Dr. Barr, our CDC director, wanted a map of us. This is where locations from all over the world that our providers come from. So it's kind of neat. We get to meet them. Some of them, when we're doing our site visits, I got to meet an oncologist that's practicing up in Caribou, Maine. She's from Greece. But this is interesting to see where they do come, and they bring their families here, so it is nice. This is new this year, and this is the Northern Border Regional Commission J1 program. It's an expansion from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York. So after our states all fill our 30 slots, and we need more, our facilities need more, we can run our program through the J1 Conrad 30 program through the Northern Border Regional Commission. Applications still come to our office, we review them. Once we review them, they're sent over to the Northern Border Regional Commission, and they will approve them. For this, they have to be working in a rural and medically underserved area. They can't use flex slots. And as you can see, all of Maine is covered except for some of the Cumberland and down in York, some of the coastal areas. Those areas do not cover the Northern Border Regional Commission. This is not our program that we administer, but I wanted just to bring attention to some more of the foreign medical graduates. This is a Health and Human Service Waiver program. This is for facilities looking to recruit primary care providers. They have to be working in a HIPSA designation, score of 7 and above. So not a high score. It's unlimited, so you can use as many applications as you want. It is usually we're notified when a facility goes this route, and then for primary care, we usually try to have them go this route so we can save our J1 Conrad slots for the more specialty providers. They're really fast on a federal level of processing these applications. So right now it's a 6 to 12 week process time, which is fairly good for immigration. And so we have a handful of providers in Maine that are working under this HHS waiver. The second one is TN visas. This is actually the easiest for out of immigration. And I have, and so just to let you know, there's a bunch of handouts out there and resources there, so that, and, yeah, but this is out of the NAFTA agreement, and it's for Canadian and Mexican residents. Of course, we're closer to Canada. They can apply for a TN visa. The application is $56. I might have to apply that more. If you have a savvy HR person who can fill out the application, that provider can show up at the border with a work requirement in work. It's unlimited. It can be renewed as many times. There's not a time limit to that. So that's another one. I think there was a woman, dentists are included in this, nurses are included in this, physical therapists. I have the whole checklist over there. But this is another way that your facility can look at recruitment and retention. They all have to be certified by their board of professionals throughout the state of Maine.
And it doesn't have to be like a specialty, like it can be a family medicine.
Right. They do not take physicians under this one, but it could be a nurse, psychologist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a list.
Okay.
I mean, they even take, like, the graphic designers are into that group. I mean, there's a whole list of them. So, this is a platform that we sponsor in all 50 states. Rural health offices use 3RNet. It's a platform. You can go on and enroll. It comes to our office to approve your applications. You can post as many jobs as you want on this platform. We get notified if this provider is interested in coming to the state in Maine, or if they're interested in a particular facility that has a job posting. Every 2 weeks, Erica will send out a notification, all of the HR directors that are signed up, for them to follow up with them. We've had some real good success with this. Over the last several years during COVID, it blew up. It was just a lot of people wanting to come to Maine and relocate. Very easy application. Also, educational program through 3RNet. As I talked about earlier, we do a series of recruitment and retention presentations. We have subject matter experts come in and do a recruitment and retention academy. So usually we offer this in the fall, and then in the spring we partner again with the New England Rural Health Association to have another series of this. We usually have it in the past. We've had them come to the state. We stopped during COVID. We're hoping to have them come back. It's been a great experience. We know we do well at recruiting. I don't think we do as job as retention. So one of those things to think about. So here are some of the topics that we've offered in the past. And these are on our website, and there's an archive in the library, so you can go back on and see them. Other areas of technical assistance that our office provides, we have a workforce analyst that works with our primary care office, with our HIPSA scores, to help get your site certified for National Health Service Corps site certification. It is a lengthy process, and so we provide a lot of technical assistance to the facilities to make sure you have everything in place before it goes to the federal bureau for them to review and approve and not approve. We also help support with the National Health Service Corps. We also have Nurse Corps, the STAR program that helps to work with alcohol, drug counselors. There's a whole list of providers in there, and then other loan repayment programs. We also work with the health professional shortage areas and medically underserved. If you want to see what your score is, we can send you that. You can, there's also on HIPSify, you can put in your location, we'll give you the score. If you don't like your score, most people don't, I would prefer that you come to us before you go and have a HIPSA rescore, so we can really try to work and get providers. It's not a quick process. We usually have to go out and survey other providers from other agencies to get the provider to patient ratio. But we can be there for assistance for you on that. And again, this is a handful of resources. They're all on our website. And then I did bring some information here. So if you needed one anything on the TN, National Health Service Corps, the SHARP program, which is fairly new, Nurse Corps, or anything that.
Hi, I'm Jen Lanfear with the Finance Authority of Maine. How many of you have interacted with FAME before with our education team? Show of hands. Yep. Anyone ever interact with the business team? Anyone know we had a business team? No. FAME exists to help Maine people get a credential of value, some sort of credential. But we also are here to help Maine businesses grow and thrive so that as we get this workforce ready, there are places for them to work. So I'm part of the education team. I'm the in-house team that helps people, if they call, they need help figuring out how to pay for that goal after high school, or they need help filing a FAFSA. So we have the customer service team in-house fielding all these calls and requests that can come in for a meeting or have a Zoom meeting. But we also administer all kinds of programs to help people pay. So that's part of my team as well. We have the CAFE team, College Access and Financial Education. They're the boots on the ground. They're traveling all over the state, doing all the same things, and then some that my team does in-house. So they'll do one-on-one meetings, helping people with their financial aid forms, helping them understand their financial aid offers, helping them repay after they've gone to school. And then the business team has very similar funding and resources to help Maine businesses stay and grow. That's who we are in a nutshell. And I confess, I learned so much this morning that I went back to the office and revamped my presentation. So what you're seeing is a little different than what I provided last Friday to go up on the resources from today. So I had taken the approach earlier of both students and employers, so I switched this more to an employer base. But as you're helping your staff maybe upskill, feel free to send them our way if they need any help. But if they're thinking of going on to any sort of education, they do need to file a FAFSA. It's the gateway to anything. It's the gateway to federal aid. It's the gateway to state aid. It's the gateway to a Pell Grant and other federal programs like work study, but also student loans. And I know that's a dirty word, but federal education loans do have benefits. And from what I heard this morning, the majority of you are all public service entities. So federal loans do have public service loan forgiveness. So we do ask people to, if they need that kind of, I think of it as the dark side to help pay that bill. It does have some forgiveness opportunity there. But the FAFSA is also the gateway to other grants and scholarships, particularly the Maine State Grant that FAME administers. We receive $27 million in state appropriations to help fund this grant. That doesn't have to be repaid. It's for Maine residents going to Maine schools. And a
handful of New England schools if their program isn't offered here. The FAFSA is also the gateway to Maine's free community college program, and also Doctors for Maine's Future. So the only application for Maine State Grant is the FAFSA. Usually there's a May 1 deadline, but if you've all been listening to the news, there's been quite some challenges with the new FAFSA. So there's no deadline this year. Folks can receive up to $2,500 for a full-time education, half of that for a part-time education. They can keep going every year until they have a bachelor's degree. It can be used for a certificate, an associate. And then the new FAFSA result called the Student Aid Index, and we set that at a certain threshold every year based on the funding received. So this year it's 10,000. And also this year, for the first time, it could be a negative number. So colleges use that in a formula to help figure out student and family's need. And then also state funded and federally funded. So we have a few programs I'll talk about today that receive funding from the yes, it's from ARPA, but through MJRP. So we got some federal funding there. The Doctors for Maine's Future program's been around since 2011. It is a scholarship offered by the University of New England and the Maine Medical Tufts Partnership. It does help fund MD or DO, $25,000 a year for 4 years, and the schools pick the recipients, and the schools also have to match whatever funding we provide. It's going to seem a little heavy on the MD-DO side for a little bit, but there are more, I promise, other than Maine State grants for undergrad programs. We've had the Maine Health Professions Loan for many, many moons. The current iteration has a tiered interest rate. It is for MD, DO, dentists, and veterinarians. Any fur baby doctors here today? No, or tags? No. All right, so just humans. We'll talk humans. Like everything else, people have to file the FAFSA to be considered. The application cycle's open right now, February 1st through May 31st. I mention this especially because no interest accrues. Like a lot of the federal programs for folks pursuing med school do accrue interest the whole time. They're in their undergrad and med school. The Maine Health Professions Loan is 0% the whole time they're in medical school and residency. And then depending where the person practices, the interest rate would be 0. They can receive $25,000 a year for 4 years unless they're a Doctors for Maine's Future recipient, because they're already receiving $25,000 a year out of the same bucket of money. They get $10,000 if they need additional funds. And then I work with Nicole's office on the underserved specialties that can determine that 0% interest rate. The Maine Dental Education Loan is funded by the Fund for a Healthy Maine and also has a loan repayment program that goes along with it. And this year it was expanded to include auxiliary dental professions as well, so we're very excited about that. This program does have a forgiveness component. Applicants can receive $25,000 a year for up to 4 years, and then if they return to Maine, live and work in Maine in certain areas, then up 25% of that loan can be forgiven each year. Again, we work with Nicole's office for the locations and underserved areas, but mostly it's HIPSA, MUA, and MUP that can help the recipient get forgiveness. The practice does have to offer Maine care and accept a certain percent of patients, regardless of ability to pay. Alrighty, I'll skip the the veterinary medicine, but if you know anyone that might be wanting to become a veterinarian in Maine, send them our way. We also administer a privately funded loan program. We just refer to it as MMET because it's a very big, long word. But it's privately funded through fundraising through the Maine Medical Association. The award amounts depend on their fundraising success each year. It's 0% during medical school, and then when the person's in residency, the interest starts accruing at a tiered rate, but they don't have to pay it. And the application cycle is the same as our other medical programs, February 1st through May 31st.
Can they double dip?
Yes, they can have the they can apply and receive the health professions loan, the Maine dental loan, the health professions loan, the MMET, the Maine Medical Education Trust is for MDs and DOs too. I missed that one. But yes, those they can double dip. Funding comes from different buckets, so they can double dip on those. I'm going to zip by this one. That's a credit-based loan. I do like to mention scholarships. We have all kinds of organizations that have scholarships to help medical professionals. FAME has a scholarship search on our website, and only Maine organizations or organizations that provide the scholarships only to Maine residents. So there's got to be a very specific Maine connection. So that tightens the competition for the scholarship. But we also vet a number of national scholarship searches as well that we have listed on the scholarship homepage. And I did put all of these links in the PDF I sent. Tax credits, there are federal tax credits. I'll zip on by those, except I do want to mention if you're working with anyone who's going to school and making interest payments on their loans, sometimes they forget they can take, I'm not a tax advisor, but they can take an income reduction for their student loan interest on their federal tax return. And IRS Publication 970 talks more about that. And the link's down there, or up there. So after graduation, and I actually wasn't sure where to put my new Mainer slide, but we have a college access professional who was an immigrant herself, and she's now a U.S. citizen, but she works with all of the new Mainers in Maine, mostly in Cumberland and Androscoggin County. Her name is Florica. She's fabulous, so she can help your new Mainers navigate what resources are available in Maine. And then FAME administers a foreign credentialing and skills recognition grant. It's up to a $1,000 grant. It's to assist folks who are not yet eligible to work in the United States. But they can use the money to help get their credential translated and evaluated. That's not the only thing they can use it for, but seems to be the most popular because that's not a cheap process. And then I mentioned just a little bit the public service loan forgiveness. I mentioned that because the majority of the folks we're hearing from today are a 501c3. The public service loan forgiveness on federal education loans is based on who the employer is and not necessarily the specific job that people do. Oh, yeah, I squished a lot on here. The Healthcare Provider Loan Repayment Pilot Program. The word pilot hasn't come out. It's been around for 3 years. It was supposed to be a one-time deal funded with $1 million from MJRP. We received a second tranche of federal funds. We just closed that application cycle. So we are going to have 80 happy people in the next few weeks. I probably shouldn't say this, but I love this program because it's like any healthcare provider where all our others are like so tight. This one, we can help so many more people doing so many wonderful things in Maine. And we did also receive some state appropriations, so we'll be having another application cycle that will probably open February 1 of 25, so we try to run it in the spring. Unless we get more federal money that has to be committed by December of 24. So there's a tiny chance we might have a fall cycle. So double check our website or give me a call or send me an email about that one. The other wonderful thing about this program is we make a repayment on a recipient's student loan just after each year of service. So they don't have to wait 3 years or 10 years. It's like a little more instant, not total instant gratification, but a little quicker than the 10 years. And we send a third of their award after each year of service directly to the student loan servicer. So, it can be $75,000 total or 50% of the outstanding student loan debt, the lesser of the two. And then I mentioned the Maine dental loan a little earlier. The partner program is the dental education loan repayment program. With dental loan, you have to be a Maine resident for at least a year for purposes other than education. This program, you can be becoming a Maine resident. So the idea was to try to get people here, but Maine residents are eligible as well. And this program provides for repayment on existing student loans. And this part of the dental program was also expanded to include auxiliary professionals. So we have our the application cycle is open right now. If you know anybody, it's open till May 31st. We have our first application from a dental hygienist. We have one from a dental assistant and some from dental providers. So we're really excited about that. And then, not that this necessarily helps you with recruitment, but I just wanted you to know that this exists as well. We have a nursing education loan repayment program. The application cycle is open because we haven't used all the money, but it's to help nursing faculty at one of our institutions of higher ed. And depending on whether they have a master's degree or doctorate degree, determines how much they'll receive in repayment. How am I doing on the clock?
We're about 2:20, so we want to leave some opportunity for questions. There's so much.
Okay, I'm going to keep zipping along. Okay, Maine has a student loan repayment tax credit for student loan payments, so make sure your folks are aware of that. FAME has a very robust financial wellness program, and we received a grant to help Maine employers build a financial wellness program. So we can help with that. And all these links and goodies are in the PDF I provided. How's that? Okay.